every time that he and I we then got under an argument, he was like, if you break up with me, I'm gonna unalive myself. And that happened not only 1, 2, 3, but I think at least 5 times. And he told me that he was struggling medically and he was going out those problems. And at that time, I remember feeling like, okay, but this is not what I signed up for. Hey guys, hi. You might be wondering why I decided to post a video outside of my regular schedule. I'm not gonna lie, this hasn't been easy for me. A week ago, I broke up the relationship that I had with my boyfriend, and I'm still in the time of like processing what happened and all of the circumstances and reasons as to why it was led to the breakup. And I have found that speaking to someone else, to the camera out there, just letting know out, has been the best thing for me. Not only with a professional, which I'm seeing a psychiatrist, and I know that it's not an easy thing to come here and to tell you that I was in love, I was with someone that I wanted to build a future with, and that future no longer exists. But first, let me take you to the beginning, right? Because it's where all it started. Today is Saturday, 22nd of August. So 4 months ago, give me just 1 second. 4 months ago, I started dating this guy that I saw dancing and singing at a karaoke club in Brazil. And that night I went to this club with my cousin and his husband. So I didn't have an agenda, anything wasn't really crossing my mind. I just wanted to reunite with my cousin, spend some time together, especially because he and we grew up together in Brazil. But as we have become adults, everyone has gone into their own things, right? So I was in Brazil and I wanted to be closer to him and to experience what it felt like growing up with him. Because, he also went through all of those things that, when someone is gay and has a really religious parents and they tell them or they start living in their full happiness, and the parents stop talking to them. So he pretty much went through the same stuff that I did. And I think those are one of the things that he and I will relate so much. So yeah, I decided that I wanted to go out with him just because, it had been a while since we had done that. And we went to this club in Brazil, in João Pessoa, right? The city I was born and raised. And I remember getting to this club and it was about 10 p.m. And the reason why we were there so early was because we got the free entry tickets, but you had to make it by 10:30 p.m. even though the party only started at midnight. So, the basic stuff that when that happens, that when you don't want to spend money on the ticket, but you're going to spend like inside the club with drinks and whatsoever. So we did that. I think an hour went later, an hour went by, and I saw this really cute guy singing at the karaoke, because the club had like 2 floors. The basic floor, which I was at, was like karaoke, and the upper level was having this party, right? And I think the theme was like early 2000s, so a lot of Britney, Kasha, a lot of those artists, right? And I decided that I wanted to hang out with my cousin at the karaoke level of the club for a while, and I saw this cute guy that was singing one of those Brazilian music, pop music, that they were mainstream at the time, by this artist called Marina Senna, and she's kind of pop music in Brazil, but she also does like traditional Brazilian popular music. I think it's just like a mix, a blend between those 2 genres, right? So yeah, and I remember seeing him, and I was like, I think he looks good. He's cute, and I went into, I don't know, come by, introduce myself, just ask him basic questions, the type of thing that the things that you do when you usually are into someone and you wanna hang out with them, right? And I remember my cousin going like, "Hey, how are you?" Blah 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 to this guy, and I was like, "Wait a minute, how does my cousin know this guy?" Because even though Brazil is a big country, João Pessoa, even though it's like a capital of the state, everybody kind of knows each other, right? So, as someone coming, yeah, so everybody knows everybody, and I think that's the reality of like João Pessoa. But I was like, you know what, it's cool. And I remember sometime later asking my cousin, hey, how do you know that person from? And he was like, no, he's a psychiatrist, and sometimes we exchange patients, because me, as being a psychologist, I do a lot of therapy sessions, and we kind of see what's the reality for each patient. And if for me, if that patient is leaning towards a psychiatric kind of help, I'm gonna exchange that patient with that person. I was about to name his name, but I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, it's better if I don't. And I was like, cool, so you guys have met before. Cool, yeah. So my cousin knows this guy that I'm into. I was, starting to have a fling, right? And I was like, okay. But some time went by, and this guy started kissing, making out with my cousin. And I was surprised by that, not towards my cousin, because, my cousin, he has an open relationship. Pretty much what 90% of the gays that are in relationships nowadays, they are in an open relationship. So no big deal, right? No surprise there. But I was like, okay, kissing my cousin. Okay, so I'm not gonna, make my way towards this guy anymore, because I just don't feel like it, right? I don't feel like I'm doing it just because he's like kissing my cousin, and then he started kissing my husband. He started kissing my cousin's husband. Oh my gosh, he almost broke my tongue trying to say that. And then he started kissing other people at the party, and I was like, that's cool, right? He's a single guy. He's allowed to kiss anyone that he wants. But me personally, I just don't feel like going at him anymore. I don't want to get to know him. I don't want to kiss him. I'm just going to enjoy my time. And I remember going on with the party. We were dancing, having drinks, just having a good time, right? And I remember seeing that guy going out, leaving the party with this person that he was kissing by the end. And I was like, okay, he's found someone to leave the party with, and he's gonna do the things that you do when you leave the party with someone, right? And I was like, okay. But the morning after, when I went home, my cousin went home, we had a good time, blah, blah, blah. I woke up, and the first thing that I did was to message my cousin. I was like, hey, cousin, can you drop me the contact details of that person that I saw? I just wanted to say hi, because I think he's really cute. And he was like, yeah, let me give it to you. So he shared with me his contact info. We started talking, and in 4 hours, he came by my place. He came to my apartment. We were just talking, really. We were just getting to know each other, even though One might think, oh, he went to your place, so you guys had sex. No, we didn't. We were basically just hanging out, trying to find things that we had in common, which we didn't, but more on that later. And I remember just being excited to be with him, right, to his side. And we went for lunch that day, as to which he decided that he didn't want to have any food. And I was like, okay, I'm still gonna eat because I'm hungry, and that's about it. And at that time, he had sold his vehicle. At least that's what he told me. More on that later as well. And he was driving a motorcycle, which he had bought right after he sold the car that he had. And it's like, I was like, okay, yeah. And he invited me to go on, a trip around the city on his motorbike. And I was like, okay, yeah, we can do that. And he was driving, I was riding behind his back. We had a good time. We saw the sunset at the beach, which was like 30 minutes from where I had a place. But it wasn't the one that you can literally cross the street off, but it was another one really far. And I remember that day he was at my place for 7 days straight. Literally, he came to my place one day and he left only 7 days after it. And that means that the first date that we had, it lasted 7 days, a week. Up to a point I was like, you know what, it feels like you and I, we are living like we were married, but that's not the case. We're just getting to know each other. And why don't you go back to your place? I can stay in mine because this is where I live, and we can continue the conversation, right? We can keep on seeing each other, but I just don't want us to have this routine to feel like we are feeling like we are married, right? I don't want that. I want you to have your space. I want to have my own, and I want to be free and have my own independence, right? But I still want to see you and hang out with you and date you, but not in a way that, it's 24/7. And I remember him getting really hurt by that because he wanted to hang out all the time, but I needed my space because, it was kind of messing up with my routine. Because, when I'm in Brazil, the sun rises so early that I do rise with the sun. So at 4:30, that's when I wake up usually. I go to the gym, I have spinning class, I go to the beach, I go to the rooftop, I read a book, then I come back down, I have breakfast, then I start my work day, and I go down to the co-working station. I have my day of work, then I go have dinner, and I call it a day. That's usually my routine. But because he was at my house, we started to have no agenda, no routine, and we were doing all the things that we wanted at any given time. And I explained it to him that I wanted to have my space, and I was like, you know what, it's not starting to make sense to me because we were seeing each other every day, and the first day was supposed to be only for a couple hours, so why don't, we're trying to keep it cool. And I remember it was the weekend, so the next day he came by my house again. We slept together, and right after we ended being intimate with each other, he asked me to be his boyfriend. It was around 3 to 4 in the morning, and I said yes, I do. And I remember 10 minutes later I was going like, I want to be your boyfriend, but I want you to properly ask me to be your boyfriend, not just when we're literally laying down on my bed, it's 4 in the morning, and you don't even have the decency of like looking me in the eyes, right? When you make the question, when you ask me to be your boyfriend. So I was kind of thrown away by that, and I made sure to tell him that I wasn't like happy about it, but I still said yes because I wanted to be with him. And 2 days later, he was like, why don't you and I just go to this place to have ice cream, gelato, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, yeah. So he came by my place. He picked me up on his motorcycle. And we went to this place, which wasn't really far. And the ice cream place turned out to be this jewelry shop, which he told me that eyes looking in my eyes saying, oh yeah, so pick a ring, because that's what you and I were going to start using from now on. And I was in shock. I was literally in shock. I was like, wait a minute, why are you like bring me to this place? Because I don't think that's what we had agreed on, right? Because I thought we were going to have ice cream and that's all. But you brought me to this place to choose a ring. And it's not even a nice place. It's a, cheap ass place that you want me to get this ring that is not, I was like really upset about that because it started with the unconventional way of like asking me to be his boyfriend, then the ring situation, and I was like, no, we're not gonna have this now. And I told him I have a place that I usually get my jewelry from here in Brazil, and I can come with you sometime next week. Why don't you and I we do that? And I remember seeing his face of disappointment, but I was like, that's the only way of me like telling him that I don't think this is the right place or time, and we can still figure this out later. And I was in shock at that time, but I managed to find a solution, I think, right? I managed to like get out of that situation in a way that didn't hurt his feelings, but at the same time, let him know what I was thinking. And a month into the relationship, he let me know that he wasn't really working because he, as a doctor, a psychiatrist, he had suffered and underwent through an accident when he was working back in January, right? January 2026. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? And he told me this crazy story where he painted himself as a hero, right? So he was trying to save someone that came into the hospital that was given as dead at that time, and he performed this maneuver called Lazaro. I don't know if we have a similar situation or any name to reflect that as in English, but that's what he told me in Portuguese, right? And he told me that when he was trying to make the maneuver on that person to try to break his chest and produce a electroshock on his body, and he was able to do that, and that person came back to life. And when he was trying to do that, he hurt his knees on the table that the person was lying down. And because the table was made out of steel, he broke his knee. And that put him away, not being able to work for so long that he was, spending all of his days at home with no activities, no going out whatsoever. And he was literally having the first day out of that situation when he met me back at the bar, literally a month before that date. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. It must suck, right? To not being able to do what you like to do, to work, to have your social life. It must really suck. And I remember feeling bad for him just because he started also going deep into his situation. So he told me that he was struggling financially. He was also having mental illness and problems. He told me that he was going under depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. And that to me came as a cold shower. Because I remember seeing him and also going out with him, not seeing him at his full potential, not being happy or being like energetic. He was always like quiet, not talking that much, but I guess it was just like the beginning of the relationship. Because after all, I was just like discovering that person, right? I was getting to know him. And he told me that he was struggling medically and he was going out those problems. And at that time, I remember feeling like, okay, but this is not what I signed up for. And I remember bringing that up to my therapy. And I told my therapist, I was like, this and this and that. And I wanted to break up with him because I don't feel like that's fair to only bring that up after he proposed to me. And my therapist told me, yeah, but the question here should not be if he's able to be in a relationship with you because he's like struggling with depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. But the real question is he able and capable of be in a relationship with you at the same time he's undergoing his treatment. And that really made sense to me at that time, because I was like, you're right, I should not be judging my boyfriend because he's struggling right now. After all, everybody goes lows, and any type of situations like that is common, right? It's a thing that most people go through. That's why people go under treatments, they see a therapist, they start taking medications because they want to do better. And in my eyes, my boyfriend was trying to do better at that time. So I was like, you know what? Excuse me. I was like, you know what? You're right. So I went back home, and instead of wanting to break up the relationship with my boyfriend, I was like, I'm gonna start supporting him. So I was really supportive of him of the days that he felt like he didn't want to leave the house, that he wanted to be in bed all the time, that he felt like his world was crashing down. And I was supportive, I was understanding all of that. And I remember going under 2 months of the relationship, and that's when things started to really take a turn, because we went to the cine. We went to the movies, right, to watch this movie, which I don't even remember which movie that was. But he started shaking, and his mouth and lips started to dry out, and started to like look real pale and white. And I was like, "Are you okay? What's going on? Why are you like that?" And he told me, "No, this is only my social phobia kicking in, and I think we should go home." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, let's get out of here." And I remember we left the movies, and he was shaking. He still drove me because he wanted to drive me back home, and I didn't feel like questioning what was going on, because he clearly needed to lie down and to like come back to his senses. So we went back to my place, which was close to the movies, and he ended up passing out, right, sleeping. And I remember the next morning he woke up feeling better, and I was like, okay, you're feeling better. Off you go to your place. I'm gonna have my full day right now. We can see each other in a couple of days. And a couple of days went by. I went out with my cousins, on the other side of the cousins. I went out with pretty much all of my closest friends, even though from different circles, and I introduced him to all of them. So that's one of the months that I pretty much spent all of the money that I had set on entertainment and just going out. I was pretty much spending on this relationship. And because he was like, I don't have money right now because my pay date is only in 3 weeks. Can you please cover my part? And I will get back to you when I have the money. And at the time, I had no problem with covering the part of my boyfriend, right? Because we were going out, we were having a lot of good time, and to different places, restaurants, cinema, bars, having drinks, clubs, dancing, like all of that, and that cost money. And because he and I, we were in a relationship, I didn't have any problem with paying my part and also his part, because I felt like we are in this together, we are in a relationship. So if I'm spending money on me, I can equally spend all money on you, and I don't have a problem with that. So I think 99% of the situations I ended up paying for him, drinks, meals, going out, and all of that, including like when we were hanging out with my friends, we were having drinks, eating food, and I was always covering his part. And my spending went from spending for one single guy to spending for 2 single guys. So I was pretty much doubling my spending, and I was like, you know what, that's cool, that's okay. And when we were close to, I think we were a week away of marking the 3 months anniversary of our relationship. I had a business trip to Brussels, Belgium. That's also the start of my videos about summer in Europe during 2026. And I was like, hey, I'm going to Europe. I would like you to come with me. I'm going to be working, but we still have to where we still could manage like to get some time off and just explore, right? Europe is really big, a lot of countries. We could, take trains, bus, flights. We could do it all. And I remember he telling me that he didn't feel like stepping outside of the house. He was really anxious and he was like having a really hard time. And I remember, okay, yeah, that's okay. And I remember 10 days going went by, and we ended up not seeing each other before I went to Europe. I came to Europe, and I was like, that's okay. We're still gonna have time to manage because I want you to come to Europe. We can spend some time and then and be together. But as the weeks were going by, he started messaging me, or started like not being as active as he was before. He stopped taking my phone calls, and that's when I was worried. I was like, I understand this is going on, but you still have to be able to communicate with me at least once a day, right? I don't want to control your life, but I want to know that you're doing okay, that you're having a hard day, but you still are able to wake up, right? And be outside, be in the sun, like exploring and enjoy. And I remember just feeling like, why are you just like vanishing? Why are you not keeping contact with me? And I also remember that he was like, I'm sorry, I just didn't have the energy to like grab my phone and to talk to anyone. And I was like, yeah, but I'm your boyfriend. I'm supposed to be the most important person in your life right now. So we had that conversation. He promised that he would not go a day or two without talking to me anymore. And I was like, okay, cool. But another week went by, and that happened again, and then again, and then again. And every time that happened, that made me feel insecure, because I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm controlling you, or I don't want to feel like I'm being cheated on. I just need you to say, hey, I'm here, I'm here, I miss you, I want to be with you. Let's just like, keep this relationship as healthy as we can. But I think he started taking advantage of like us not being in the same country to like just not give me the grace of the day. Like he started vanish, and that's when I was like, this is worrying me, because I don't like that. I want us to be able to have daily conversations and all that. And we started to kind of grow apart, I think. Even though we were able to like resolve these situations, one thing became common, more common as we had arguments, and that was every time that he and I we then got under an argument, he was like, if you break up with me, I'm gonna unalive myself. And that happened not only 1, 2, 3, but I think at least 5 times. And that always made me like, okay, I don't want to break up with him, because I don't want him like to take his own life. I don't want him to suffer because of me. So I kind of felt under the pointing gun of like someone pointing a gun at me. And that's how I felt. I felt powerless, I felt hopeless, and I just felt like I wasn't enjoying being in that relationship anymore. I remember also one day waking up and going to his Instagram, and I saw a lot of posts on his feed of like on his grid, right, of he like shirtless, wearing like swimming trunks, like really small swimming trunks, and just like posing as this single guy, which he was not. He was in a relationship with me. So I think when you're in a relationship with somebody, you have to respect that person, right? So you have to present yourself in a way that you're being respectful and you're being mindful, right? And I remember also opening my text messages on my phone, and I remember seeing his mom not having a profile picture anymore. And me taking a look at his Instagram, but then also being surprised by the fact that his mom kind of deleted my number and blocked me. That threw me away, which made me really nervous, and I went to talk to him immediately, which he responded to me only 15 hours later, saying that he understood where I was coming from, but I was becoming toxic because he should be able to post whatever he wanted, and that was about it. And I was like, yeah, I get you. I understand you should be free with your Instagram, your social media, and with your life, but we're still in a relationship, so we should respect each other, right? And he was like, yeah, but when those guys messaging me, I don't reply. I don't even like their texts. And I was like, wait a minute, are those texts? Are you talking to someone? Are you like having conversations? Are you having full-on conversations with someone? Because I was like, I saw likes from single guys on your pictures, and I didn't like that. But that is next level. And that's when the phone call went silent, and you can literally feel that he was like, oh gosh, I shouldn't mention that. And that's when I was like, what is going on? Why are you telling me that? And he was like, no, some people message me, and as I have a public account and I have almost 40,000 people following me, it's okay to receive message from people all over trying to hit on me, but that doesn't mean that I talk to them. That doesn't mean that I reply to them. And I was like, okay, this is upsetting. I don't feel like this is what I wanted to hear, but that's okay. Yeah, whatever. And just now, fast forward a month later, 4 months into this relationship, I was going back down from a nearby mountain, and I saw this shop that they were hand making all of the products, with wood. And I wanted to give him the souvenir with his medical licensed doctor and his name, which he could stamp the papers or receipts that he was about to give his patients. But I didn't want to ask him what was his medical license number, so I went to the Brazilian Association website for doctors, where you can literally find, which is public information, right? You can find information about doctors that are registered in the whole nation, and that's what I did. So I went up to this website and I tried to look up his name, and I remember going trying to type his full name, and nothing came back up. And I tried to search by his name, just the first one, and I saw a couple of people that had that name, but it wasn't him. And I was like, am I looking at the right website? Let me try to look up the sister-in-law that my brother has, right? So I tried to look her up, and she came up with the results. And I was like, no, if she's showing up here, if her name is on that list, it means that he should be here too, because he's a doctor. At least that's what he says. And I remember being so upset about that. I was like, this something is off. This is not okay. And I remember going to the website of where he listed at his college, right, where he's got his medical degree as a doctor. And I tried to search his name, and I couldn't find him. I couldn't find he entering that school, that med school, but not him finishing the medical school. And that was so off to me, because I was like, something is really wrong right here. I don't know what that is, but something is off. And I remember that he went to the college with his ex boyfriend, and they were supposed to be, at the same year and graduating from the same school the same year. So I looked up his ex, which I knew by the first name, and he has a very different name, which I don't think a lot of people have that name, at least not in Brazil. So he showed with 2 different credentials from 2 different states in Brazil. And I remember looking at that list and seeing, okay, I see his ex graduating from that school with a medical degree, but I don't see my boyfriend, and that is suspect. That is really off. And I remember not feeling like enough. I remember he told me that he was working out of 4 hospitals in Brazil. So I went up and I contacted the 4 hospitals myself, and I was like, hey, has this doctor ever been an employee of your hospital, of this clinic, or of this environment, and none of them came back to me saying that they ever had an employee with that name or that record. And I remember like my world was like crushing down. I remember being so upset and so sad that I felt like I was being lied on the whole time. And because of that information, I still needed to confirm with someone that knew him before me. So I looked up his ex on Instagram and I messaged him and I was like, hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but I would like to ask you some questions about this person. And it was like, why do you want to ask me about that person? I don't engage with him anymore. I don't have any contact since the breakup. And I was like, I'm his current boyfriend and he's a picture of us. And I sent him a picture of us kissing so he could verify my identity, right? And I started to tell all of the things that I was able to discover and find out, and he was shocked. Because by the time that he left the city and the relationship with that ex that I was talking to at that time, he was still to finish the law school. He still had a year and a half remaining to conclude his studies in medical field, right, to get his graduation. And that's what the ex told me. He's not a doctor. If he's pretending to be a doctor, that is wrong. Because even if he's like went back to the hometown and he's studying, the dates and the time still doesn't add up because he still got some time left to conclude 100% of the school, right? And that's when I learned that he only had went to 70% of the school, the medical school, and he still had time to conclude his studies. And I was like, yeah, he's posing as a doctor, as a psychiatrist, and I don't know how it happens in other countries, but in Brazil, you go to law school, which is like 6 years, and then you go into a residency, right, into your field, your medical field. And he told me that he was a psychiatrist. So for you to be a psychiatrist in Brazil, you have to do 6 years of college and then 4 years of residency. So 10 years total. And he didn't do like the residency. He didn't take the 4 years of psychiatry school. And I also took the liberty of that time since I was talking to his ex, to ask him, okay, what do you know about this person breaking up with you? Because he told me his side of the story, but if you don't mind, I'd like to hear your side of the story because I want to hear you. Because since he's like lying to me all this time and he's being manipulative in every situation that he's on, and that's like involving myself, I wanted to hear your side. And he told me the reason as to why they broke up, which I'm not gonna disclose it here, but I'm gonna tell you that he told me so much that made me regret being in a relationship with that guy in the first place. He told me that the breakup was so hurting and so bad that he was still under depression treatment up until this day, which is like a week ago. And he told me all of the things that my ex was doing to him at the time they were together, and the things that he lied about, the money that he stole, the people that he hurt, the bad situation that he got involving the ex parents. And it was a mess. It was really bad. Like, it was a whole situation. And I remember asking myself and also typing to the ex, where did I get myself into? Like, who the fuck am I in a relationship with? And I was like so disappointed, so sad. And I remember feeling down and like confused and feeling like I was being lied on the whole time. And mind you, the fact that he's not a doctor, the fact that he's not a professional, as he told me that he was, that's not a problem. I have no problem with you being a student, still trying to, graduate, still trying to make things, like you still make in the adult world. But the issue for me was when he started to lie about, that and about so many other stuff that I came to the realization only later in the relationship. And if you're not real to me since the beginning, if you're not able to have a deep, honest conversation about your life and also about what is going on, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. I don't. And I remember just being in shock, completely in shock. And I remember like feeling tears downstream my face and just feeling sad. And a couple of hours went by. I decided to call my soul boyfriend at the time. And I remember going, hey, how are you? Are you having a good day? What's going on? Where have you been up to lately? And I explained to him that I wanted to surprise him with the stamp. And I also told him all of the things that I was able to find in my discovery. And he was like, why are you looking up things about me when you could have asked me in the first place? Why are you talking to someone behind my back? That is so shady of you. That is really poor on your side. I don't trust you anymore. Why are you doing like that? Why are you doing that to me? And I was like, that doesn't change the facts of the things that I was able to find. You are lying. You have been lying this whole time about your profession, about your education. You have been lying about so many stuff, about our relationship. You have been lying all this time. And he wasn't completely shocked that he went silent. And I was like, are you not going to defend yourself? Are you not going to try to prove me wrong? Are you going to say anything? Why are you so silent right now? Where is your voice? And a couple minutes went by until he was like, I could prove you wrong. I could show you all the documents and the proof that I have just to prove you wrong, but I'm not going to do that. You chose your side. You chose not to believe in me. You chose not to ask directly to me the things that you found out. You chose to believe in someone else. You chose to do your own research. So you have to live with that now. Because I'm not going to tell you anything. And I was like, no, this is your chance. This is your chance to come up clean. This is your chance to come clean and to prove me wrong and to tell me that, it's all a mistake, right? This is all a misunderstanding. And he was like, no, I don't have to tell you anything. I don't feel like doing any of that. You have chose your side. And I was like, yeah, but why did you lie? And he was like, no, the Brazilian Federation of Doctors, they gave me a special license to perform as a doctor, even though I didn't graduate. And I was like, that's a lie. That's impossible. That's not true. I spoke to them. They never gave you a license. They never gave you a special license. If so, you never graduated. Why are you lying about being a doctor, about being a psychiatrist? Now I get all of the things that you lied in our relationship. I get now that I was being manipulative. Even now, you're trying to manipulate me with lies, and all you ever done and all you ever did was lie to me. What is your problem? What is wrong with you? And I remember him being silent. And I was like, are you not going to say anything? Are you not going to tell me you're sorry? Are you not going to say anything? For Jesus Christ, say it, something like, just talk to me, right? Because deep down, even though I wanted to break up, I had, 5% of hope of maybe I was wrong. Maybe he was capable of proving me wrong. Maybe he had the opportunity to say something. Like, he had the opportunity to say that, to do anything, but he chose not to. And that's when I was really sad about the whole situation. And I remember going like, are you not going to say anything? Are you going to be quiet in silence this whole time? Why did you do that though? And I remember asking him if if any of the relationship that he and we had was real. I remember asking him if any of that love was real. I remember asking him all of the times, all of the times that you said that you loved me, was that real? Did you ever love me? Did you ever actually care for me? Why did you choose me to do that? I have been nothing but completely honest with you. I have been an open book with you. You know all of my finances. You know everything about my life. You have met my parents. I stopped talking to my mom because of you. I introduced you to all of my friends, to my closest friends, to my parents, to my brother, to all of the people that I carry in my life. And in return, that's how you treat me. That's why you give me in return. And I remember just going at him really sad and really hurt. And he didn't even have the decency of apologizing, of saying I'm sorry, or to say anything. He just went silent, completely silent. And I remember the phone call went silent for at least 5 minutes, and I hung up. I hung up the phone, and I completely started breaking down in tears. I was so sad, so hurt, that I was like, you know what? Let me just end things right now. And I remember writing to him the things that made me come to the decision of ending things with him. I was so sad. I wrote him saying, I don't understand why you did this to me. I don't feel like I deserved any of this. All I wanted was to be with someone. All I wanted was to feel loved. That's all I wanted, right? All I wanted was to be with someone that wanted to be with me. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be cared for. And I didn't ask for too much. I didn't, literally. And I listed all of the things that were making me come to that realization, to make that decision. And I was like, this is my final decision. That's it, we're done. And I messaged him, and I remember trying to message his mom, just because I didn't want to vanish out of her life without saying anything. And also, one of the things that I learned from that relationship was that I could talk to his mom on a daily basis, and we were kind of having a relationship of talk to each other. And I realized that she blocked me, and I was like, that's so off, because I didn't tell her anything yet. I was about to. And that's when I came to the realization of he is afraid of me telling his mom everything that I found out, everything that I have discovered. And this is him blocking me from his mom's phone. And I tried to message his mom on Instagram a couple of hours later, because that's the only place that I still got her contact information. And I remember messaging her and was like, hey, your son is lying about a number of things, about this and this and that. And 2 minutes went by, the message was read, and I was blocked. And I was like, yeah, not only he's got access to his mom's phone, but also her Instagram, and I've been blocked on both. And now I'm just vanishing out of her life. I'm just disappearing, and she's not gonna get why. She's not gonna understand my reason to do so. And I also remember that his mom, she's not the strongest when it comes to healthy. condition. She's not doing okay mentally. So the fact that he's doing that to a sick mom is just like, it's just sad. It's just like cruel, right? How can you do that to your own mom? How can you lie about your life and all about it, like to your own mom? Because his mom thinks he is this renowned doctor, that he's saving lives, and he's like curing people, and he's taking care of people's mind, and that's not the truth. When in reality, he's not even able to cure his own mind. He's not even able to treat his own problems, and that's when things get really strange for me, I think. That's when, I was like, this is so messed up, this is really bad. And now I have come to the part of the grieving process of like, I don't know what should I do with all the plans that I had made with him, right? He was supposed to come to Europe. He was supposed to come to Zurich so we could spend time together. I was going to show him around because I've been to Europe a lot of times, but he hasn't. So it was a chance of us reconnecting after being away for so long. A chance for us to be intimate after being away for so long. So just trying to reconnect and try to reignite that flame that we used to have at the beginning of our relationship. Also, him and I, we were going to travel around Brazil. We had so many plans, and I just don't know what to do with those plans. What do I do with the hotel's reservations? What do I do with the flight informations, the tickets, the money that I have spent on him, the time that I have put into this relationship, the effort, all of the things that I have tried to make this work? What do I do? What do I really do with all of that? And some days are really harder than the others. Sometimes I'm just started crying out of nowhere, which now I know it's not out of nowhere, but it's just, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just, doing, let's say, working out of my laptop, and I just started crying, bursting, tears up, crying. And I don't necessarily get the why now. I know that I have been under a lot of stress, a lot of sadness moments, and all of the things that have led me to, end my relationship. But it hasn't been a really good time. I have just been struggling. But I don't feel like I'm alone on this, because I have my closest friends asking and checking on me every single day. I'm seeing a therapist that I've been seeing for a long time now. I started seeing a psychiatrist, a real one, a true psychiatrist, where I have been able to share in those sessions how I have been feeling, what can I do to feel less sad, to feel like myself, because I felt like I lost myself along the way, and I felt like I couldn't recognize myself, right? And I felt like I couldn't find what made me wanting to be in that relationship in the first place. And because of that, I kind of lost my sparkle, which I'm trying to find here. And I have received a lot of messages from my closest friends that say, hey, why don't you come to New York or to Brazil? You have to be close to us. You have the chance to go through this moment, but you don't have to do that by yourself. And that's exactly what I need. I have to be by myself. I have to be away from screens. I have to be immersed in the forest, in the woods, in nature. I have to be closest to what really makes me happy, which is like out here, right? And Switzerland is a place where I really feel like myself. I feel like this is a really good country. I feel like this is a country where I feel happy, where I feel like I can have a lot of thoughts and thinking that are literally making me just feel like myself again, right? I don't know when I will be able to get back to feel like myself again or feel happy and at peace again, but I know that will take time. But I'm just ready to, continue on living. I'm not gonna stop living because of that. I get that relationships and people, they come into our lives to teach us a lesson. And this time around, I have learned that I have been loyal to him in that relationship. I was truthful, I was honest, I was real. And even though I didn't get that in return, I did my part. And that's why it counts in the end. That's why it should count. Our ability to be present and to be truth to who we are.
What about that, Cambridge? What you saying?